a pre-show roll. All right, I've started the stream. Give it a few seconds while YouTube takes its time.
Okay.
All right. We are streaming now. The stream is up. You should be able to see us both in Podfeed. Hello, chat room.
All right. I'm now bringing up Mimo Remote. I do not know what went wrong there. That was really weird.
Yeah. Well, you had your SCO configuration, your Screencast Online configuration.
It's the whole. I don't know.
Huh.
I don't
want to deal with it.
I can't explain what it's doing. I can't even come close to telling you what it's doing.
Well, the important thing is we are on.
Fat mess.
We are live and direct.
All right. Well, hello everybody. We are late for roll call. Has there been a call for roll call yet?
I don't think so. People were just waiting for the show to begin. Is there a call for roll call there, Al?
It looks like Al is still not able to hear anything, so they're trying to help him.
Oh, he can't hear still. Oh man, boy. Okay, someone else call roll call.
Yeah. All right.
Or we could tell him in text.
You could call roll call, Steve. Okay, I'm going to do roll call. We've got Kevin and Jason and Fallen and Frank and Mike and Jill and Ed and John and Rick and Sandy and Michael Westbay and Alan again? Alan's in there twice. No, that's the first time. And Zoe. All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Well, Kevin sent me something really important I got to talk about here. He sent me Shake Hold. It's earthquake-proof stuff to hold my duck Kevin on top of my monitor. But you know what that means, Kevin? I can't take him down off the monitor now. So you have to trust me that Kevin's up there. But I don't know. It doesn't stick real well to a rubber ducky, I'm afraid. I think he's hanging on by a thread. All right. What are you clicking so loud, Steve?
My Wave XLR.
Okay. All right, I'm going to start recording.
All right.
I suppose I should... Let's just hit play and see if anybody can hear playback. Could you hear it?
Chat room, did you hear that audio? Good.
Yes. Okay, it's a miracle. All right. I'm going to bring... This is going to be a weird one because I don't have much going on here. All right, muting. Steve's muted. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, October 9th, 2022, and this is show number 909. All right. I know that's a weird place to stop. But otherwise, there won't be a chapter mark. And Mike, I did not get a chance to try to figure out what's going on with the macro at your. I didn't get a chance to test that macro, so I don't know. There it goes. Oh, that's interesting. Keyboard Maestro would like to record this computer screen. You've been doing it all along. What are you asking for now? Oh, for the love of Pete. Okay, fine. My watch? Proof with Apple Watch. We're having a day today, aren't we?
Yes.
How could Keyboard Maestro have lost its accessibility? For the love of Pete, it wants to quit and reopen. This is going to be fun. It's going to be fun today. It's just getting better and better. Okay, so here we go. Well, I'm up to part 5 of my Tiny Mac Tips series as written articles, and you're going to hear part 5 in this week's podcast. But if you'd like to actually see some of these tips in action, Screencast Online has just released my latest video tutorial demonstrating 15 of my favorites. I've also finished production of more Tiny Mac tips for Screencast Online, but you're going to have to wait to hear that, or see that one, I should say. In the first Tiny Mac Tips video tutorial, I cover jumping to files quickly in Finder, setting your scroll bars to always be on, moving files into subfolders, alphabetizing your system preferences, changing your primary display, true delete on a Mac, swapping characters, set column widths, renaming files, menu search in apps, the magic option key, universal clipboard, I'll say that again, universal clipboard, screen sharing from the Finder and tabs, and open, no, oh wow, my audio levels are all of a sudden way down. I'm going to have to count on the magic. Okay, seriously, why is my audio input so low? Can you guys see that? I'll unmute you there, Steve. Look at how much my audio levels dropped. From here
I can
to
definitely
here.
see that.
What the heck happened? I mean, I don't want to read that again. It was annoying to read. Got to do it again. Let me do a test here. Hello, hello, hello. What's going on?
Still low.
Seriously.
No, they seem to be auto correcting there, but
hang on. This slider was slid all the way to the left. Okay, let's give a try here. Yeah, that slider got bumped.
Should it be far all the way to the right like that?
I think so. I think it's a default when you open a new file.
Okay.
All right, let's try this again. Well, I'm up to part 5 of my Tiny Mac Tips series as written articles now, and you're going to hear part 5 in this week's podcast. But if you'd like to actually see some of these tips in action, Screencast Online has just released my latest video tutorial demonstrating 15 of my favorites. I've also finished production of more Tiny Mac tips for Screencast Online, but you're going to have to wait for that one. If you're a visual learner, Screencast Online tutorials are the way to learn. I've given you in the show notes, there's a teaser video to watch, and remember, you can get a free 7-day trial during which you can binge as much of the back catalog as you'd like, along with my Tiny Mac tips. Check it out at screencastonline.com. Okay, why did you unmute?
Because I thought you were done.
Oh, and you had something compelling to say?
No, I always cut in when you finish, when I think you finish anyway.
All right. I decided not to read that big list. That was getting boring. Okay, what's next? Okay. Tiny, let's see. Let's see what happens with this. Oh. Keyboard Maestro did not start itself up. Why does it always say I want to restart and then it doesn't, you know? All right. I just heard Tesla snore.
Yeah, I think I'm still too hot in... are you listening to me in Discord or Mimo?
Mimo.
Huh. Let me turn my Mimo volume down.
Copy. I mean, if everybody likes hearing her hearing her snoring. Okay, let's see. Bart on there it is. Muting Steve. This week's Chit Chat Across the Pond Light is actually with Bart Bouchat. Jeez, you can't even pronounce Bart Bouchat's name tonight. Jeez. This week's Chit Chat Across the Pond is a light episode, but it's also with Bart Bouchat. In this episode, he teaches us about a relatively new concept in IT security called zero trust. You may have heard him mention it a few times before. He explains how the old ways of simply securing the perimeter of your organization are no longer enough. You simply can't trust that inside your network you're safe from bad actors. The solution has 3 principles that guide organizations in developing the rules of who and which devices and which networks are allowed to have access to what data and for how long. That part sounds like the heavy lifting to me. Bart then explains how the fun part is then using the rules that have been developed to implement these rules using technology. Bart's explanation of how the technology works is a bit specific to Microsoft's projects. Dang it. Is a bit Bart Bart's explanation of how the technology works is a bit specific to Microsoft's products, but the concepts he explains are definitely applicable to any vendor solution. We, of course, have detailed show notes from Bart, and you can find Chit Chat Across the Pond Light, episode 745, on Zero Trust in your podcatcher of choice. All right. It's going smooth so far.
Smooth as sandpaper.
All right. You know, I might need a refill just regular water, honey.
Okay. Ed's saying your mic might be hot. Are you in the red? Let's see. Go ahead and talk.
So
yeah,
it does. It does look hot.
While you adjust that, I'm going to go get you some water.
I'll bring it down some, but it's where it normally is. It's normally 5 dots, but I'll bring it down a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks better, Ed. So it normally does go into the red, but it should be most of the time between 6 and 3. -6 and -3 dB, but it's been going lower, higher than that. Thank you. No ice, just sparklets. All right. Tiny Mac tips. Let's see if I just. I knew you didn't do it. I'm wondering whether the activate or bring Mars Edit to activate an app is not working the same lately, Mike, because it's definitely not coming to the forefront like it says it's supposed to. All right, here we go. Nope, that's the wrong one. Tiny Mac Tips Part 5. All right, thank you, honey. I'm muting you. Okay. Here we go. Now let's talk about some more Tiny Mac tips. This is an ongoing series I started in order to teach my dear friend Jill from the North Woods how to move from an adequate Mac user to a proficient one. If you missed the earlier installments, we also have links in the show notes to Tiny Mac Tips Part 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, let's get started. If you've been using the Mac for any length of time, you know about the dock. You know, you can drag icons out of the docks for apps you're... Good grief. Seriously. Okay. All right, let's get started. If you've been using the Mac for any length of time, you know about the dock. You know you can drag icons out of the dock for apps you don't use and drag other applications into the dock that you use more often. You probably also know that you can drag apps side to side to rearrange them. You probably also know that you can change the dock behavior using the dock and menu bar system preference pane. You can change things like how big the dock items are, the level of magnification, and more. But did you know that you can do a lot of these same functions without even opening system preferences? If you look at your dock, it's broken up into 3 sections designated by 2 thin vertical lines. The far left section is the apps you've chosen to always have live in the dock. The next section has apps that were recently opened and which may now be closed. The final section on the far right of the dock holds trash, downloads, and any documents you've chosen to hide. You can remove downloads from the dock, but trash is a permanent fixture. You probably knew all that too. But those vertical lines separating these 3 sections have magical powers. Click and hold on either one of them and drag up and down, and you'll change the size of the dock and the app icons inside it. To access even more controls, right-click in the space near either vertical line, and you'll be rewarded with a pop-up menu. In this menu, you can toggle hiding on and off, you can toggle magnification, you can change the position of the dock on screen from left to bottom to right, and you can toggle the minimization effect between the genie and scale effects. Finally, you can open dock preferences directly from that pop-up menu if there's something more advanced you'd like to do. I think it's pretty cool that you can do so much with the dock right from the dock. Now, the next tip is probably one of the tiniest ones of all. Have you ever been on a website where you were given a free-form text box, and while they let you type a lot into that box, the box isn't large enough to see everything that you've typed? If you're a Safari user, look in the bottom right of that little text area. You may see two diagonal lines in the corner. If you do, you can actually drag the bottom right corner and resize the text box so you can see as much as you need. Now, it's not a life-changing trick, but I am always happy when I see those tiny lines indicating a resizing handle for the text area. Now, here's another really quick trick. Menu bar items seem to proliferate on the Mac, at least on mine, and the order of them seems kind of mysterious. Near as I can figure, they seem to be in the order of the most recently installed applications, with the newest ones on the left. Now, have you ever wished you could rearrange them? If you hold down the Command key, you can click and drag them right and left to your heart's content. Well, not exactly completely to your heart's content, because you can't change the order of a few of the Apple menu bar items, like the clock and control center. They have a sacred order, and don't even think about trying to move those. Most of the Apple menu bar items can be removed from the menu bar using that handy-dandy dock and menu bar preference pane we were just chatting about. Now, the next tip takes a while to explain, but it's actually quite easy to use and it's very powerful, but it's kind of clumsy to explain, but bear with me. Once you get the hang of this one, you're going to love it. One of the hidden treasures of macOS is the built-in color picker. So let's set up a problem to be solved to show how powerful it is. The color picker, by the way, works across all standard Mac apps. Developers get it for free, and most of them choose to use it. I'll use Preview for my example since we know everyone has the built-in app if they're using a Mac. Let's say you've taken a screenshot and some sensitive information is in it that you'd like to obscure before posting it publicly. In the Preview app, open the markup toolbar by clicking on the little pen inside a circle. That'll open up this whole new menu bar. In the toolbar, you can choose a shape to obscure the sensitive information. I recommend a rectangle. To the right, you can choose the fill color. If you select the fill color, you'll get a drop-down with a grid of colors from which to choose. Now, we could pick any old color to cover up that sensitive information, but it'd be really obvious that we'd done so if we, say, used a red box to cover up something that was on a blue background. Ideally, we'd covered it up with a color that matched the existing background. At the bottom of this grid of colors that comes up when you choose fill color, it also says in wee tiny letters at the bottom, Show Colors. If we select that, we get a window with 5 tabs with different options on how to choose colors. By default, it starts at the Color Wheel tab. This lets you drag a target around on the wheel to choose a color, and you can set the darkness of the color chosen and even the opacity. There are also tabs to let you use sliders to change colors, a tab with a narrow set of predefined colors like red and blue, which I actually use really often, and you'll see a tab to let you choose by spectrum, or you can even choose from a box of colored pencils, which is kind of a playful, fun way to do it. All of these are swell options, and like I said, I admit I often use the narrow color options to simply pick red, but we want a very specific color. In the example screenshot I took from Amazon's review page, my name is shown in the screenshot over a light turquoise background. I want to draw a box to cover my name that is the exact same color. On every one of the tabs of the color window, down at the bottom, you'll see the color you've chosen with a tiny eyedropper next to it. This is the color eyedropper, and it is magical. I know I use that a lot, but this one really is magical. Simply click once on the eyedropper and then move your cursor over the color you want to use. You'll see a big circle magnifying your cursor position. The information you see in this magnifier will help you make sure you get exactly what you want. In cases maybe there's multiple colored pixels right near each other and there's just one you want to get, you'll be able to see it in that magnifier. When you're over the exact color you want, click once. Now back in the color window, the color in the bottom left is the one you chose from your screenshot. In Preview, the fill color will have also changed to the color you've chosen. You can draw a rectangle now over the information you'd like to obscure, and it will disappear, leaving no trace of the previous information. Well, maybe not. There might be one more step. Preview also has an outline color, so you might get the perfect light turquoise rectangle, but if the outline color is set to red, you've got a smidge more work to do. You can change the outline color to none by selecting the white box with the red line through it, or you can choose the color picker again to set the outline color to be the same as the fill color. This is definitely one of those tricks that sounds super complicated when explained, but it is super quick in execution. Now, my example was an image editing application, but the color picker and eyedropper are available all across macOS, wherever you need to choose a color. You can even use it for text color, and you can use the eyedropper to grab color in completely different apps than where you're working. So you could even pull it, say, from a picture on your desktop if you wanted to. Practice looking for the color eyedropper wherever you pick a color, and you'll quickly become proficient at getting exactly the color you want. Having the color picker with the eyedropper built into just about every app where you need color is a really powerful feature of macOS. I'm going to take a quick break because it's going to be a while. And is there anybody who didn't already know that trick? Don't be shy. Oh, great. All right, as long as we get Jill, we're golden. Kevin didn't know. Great. I'm so glad. Michael likes it. Jill, you pointed at your own avatar and wrote noob. I like it. By the way, noob is spelled with capital zeros, I think, but that's okay. All right. Here we go. You keep going. Do you remember the old days when if you didn't know up Do you remember the old days when if you didn't know a word you were reading, you would go pull the giant physical dictionary out of the bookcase and look up the word to find out what it meant? If not, go ask your parents or grandparents. I still have mine for nostalgia's sake. If you're on a Mac, you can do the same thing from the comfort of your own fingertip. Simply tap and hold on any word you see on your Mac, and you'll get a pop-up showing you the dictionary definition of that word. I use this all the time to increase my vocabulary. For example, if I tap and hold on the word Sunday, the dictionary tells me a dish of ice cream with added ingredients such as fruits, nuts, syrup, and whipped cream. At the bottom of the pop-up, you'll see a list of other resources available to give you more information. If you're not just looking up the definition of a word, but instead maybe you want to know more about a country or a region mentioned in the news, you can flip through the options to take a look at Siri Knowledge or Siri suggested websites. The list you'll see to choose from is contextual and based on the word or words you look up. For example, in a news article about the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I can select Volodymyr Zelensky and then press and hold, and it opens Siri Knowledge first instead of the dictionary. I'm also offered Siri suggested websites or news. If you need a different dictionary, you can select the gear next to Configure Dictionaries. This will reveal a list of the resources it's currently using. You can deselect any of the selected sources and add new sources and change the order of preferences. Nope. And change the order of precedence. And change the order of precedence. For me, it defaulted to a few English dictionaries, but I can choose from a multitude of different dictionaries in other languages as well. Now, I'm trying to stay focused on macOS tips for this series, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that lookup exists on iOS and iPadOS as well. Your options may be slightly different, but it functions essentially in the same way. We all know about Spotlight searching on the Mac using command space, but there's another way to utilize the power of Spotlight. I took a giant breath and I don't like that. We all know about Spotlight searching on the Mac using command space, but there's another way to utilize the power of Spotlight to create tailored searches in the Finder. If you open a Finder window in any view, if it's wide enough, on the far right side of the Windows toolbar, you'll see a magnifying glass. If your Finder toolbar isn't visible, in the Finder menus, choose View Show Toolbar, or use Option Command T to toggle it on. Now let's start by doing a simple search for a file by name. With the Finder window open to any folder on your Mac at all, click on the magnifying glass in the toolbar and start typing any text string. For my example, I'm going to try to find a cross-stitch pattern I made for my grandson Forbes. Steve, It's Parker, not Forbes. Can you fix that?
I better fix that right away.
Yeah, Forbes doesn't have one. It was for Parker. For my example, that was close. Take a sip here. Oh, Choo Choo's interested too. Or is it Chow Chow? Command F works faster. You haven't seen what I'm going to do. Oh, I see what you're saying. Instead of clicking in the window, sure. For my example, I'd like to find a cross-stitch pattern I made recently for my grandson Parker. It was a baby towel I cross-stitched with baby Avengers superheroes on it. I put a picture of it in the show notes. You gotta go see how cute it is. So I have a lot of files with cross-stitch in them, but let's make it challenging for Spotlight, and I'll just search for cross. As you start to type, the display of the Finder window will begin to change. Right under the toolbar, you'll see Search This Mac, followed by the name of the folder you were in when you followed. That's not... right under the emphasis is wrong. Right under the toolbar, you'll see Search, and it'll say This Mac, followed by the name of the folder you were in when you started. This means you can isolate your search to just that original folder, or you can search your entire computer. By default, it starts with the entire computer. Now, if you want to more often do a search like this from the specific folder you've chosen, which is my choice, you can change that default. Select Finder from the menu bar and open Finder Preferences. If you select the Advanced tab, at the bottom you'll see When performing a search, and there's a drop-down showing Search This Mac. You can change it to search the current folder or use the previous search scope. Now that we've had that housekeeping out of the way, let's have some fun making more powerful searches, because it gets way better than this. After I typed the word cross into Spotlight in the Finder window, it found 2,278 file matches on my Mac. This demonstrates that Spotlight not only searches file names, but it finds the word matches inside the documents as well. I need to narrow the search down to find that Avengers cross-stitch pattern. Right under the search box in the upper right, you'll see a Save button and a plus button. We'll come back to Save in a moment. If we hit the plus button, we can add more criteria to narrow our search. We can now see another row of options with two dropdowns. They say kind and any. No wonder it found 2,278 matches to my query. It was any kind, right? If I select the dropdown that says any, I can change the criteria to application, archive, document, executable, and many more. I'm going to choose it to PDF for this exercise because I know the cross-stitch pattern is a PDF. This immediately narrows the search results from 2,278 to 121. Now we're getting somewhere. I also know that I worked on this cross-stitch project in the last year because Parker's just coming up on his first birthday. Let's hit the plus button again. This time I'll change the left dropdown to created date. This changes the second dropdown to show within last, followed by a field where I can type in a number and a dropdown that defaults to the word days. So it's saying within the last number of days. I could type in 1 and change days to years if I wanted to. But I'm pretty sure it was in 2022, so I'll be lazy and change to the within last dropdown to just say this year. That way I don't have to type in any numbers. I can now see 13 PDFs, all of which have the text string cross in them somewhere that were created in the last year. Now the real last open date, last modified date, created date, name, and contents. Below that, it says Other. Not only am I not going to list off all of the options under Other, I'm not even going to count the number of options. There are so many. I captured the list using the scrolling screenshot option in CleanShot X, and if I shrink it down to see all of them, I can't even read their names. The text is so small. I put a link into the full-size list of the shown. Send the link too, Steve. You see the link is there? I put a link to the full-size list in the show notes just for your amusement, but don't think you're even going to be able to read them all. But you could scroll through them all, I guess, if you want to. You're going to have to trust me that if you can think of any unique criteria to find a file on your Mac, Apple has them in that list of options. I can prove it to you. In 2019, Steve and I went to Chile to see a total eclipse of the sun and to tour the amazing telescopes they have there, guided by an astrophysicist. The coolest one we saw was ALMA, the Atacama Large Millimeter Array. ALMA came into wide fame when it was one of the telescopes that were combined together to create the first image of a black hole. ALMA is so high up that we had to take blood pressure tests before we were allowed to go up, and we were issued oxygen tanks to keep ourselves alive while we were there. It was also brutally cold, and the UV index was 11. I literally did not know it goes to 11. Anyway, we took a photo of ourselves in front of the array. I thought it would be fun to try to find it on my desktop, or on my Mac somewhere, using these advanced spotlight searches in Finder. I knew it was a JPEG, so that was my first criterion in Spotlight Search. Okay, I'm going to do a quick stop here. Steve, for some reason the word Finder is in all caps. Don't know why.
In the article you're reading right now?
Yeah. So Spotlight Search options in Finder, and it's in all capital letters.
Okay, got it.
Okay, thank you. Spotlight searches in Finder. Finder! I knew it was a JPEG, so that was my first criterion in Spotlight Search. I also knew that we were standing at 5,042.9 meters above sea level, 3.36 miles above sea level, when the photo was taken on Steve's iPhone. I suspected that the altitude information might be included in the EXIF data for the image. Under the first dropdown, I selected Other, and from that giant list of options, I selected Altitude. On the second dropdown, I selected Is Greater Than, and I typed in 5,000 meters. I was rewarded with a file entitled Steve Allison Alma Telescope.jpg. Now, if you find one of these specialized options that you think you might want to use pretty often, there's a checkbox next to each one in that giant list, and you can add it to the drop-down menu. I told you near the beginning that there's a Save button that I'd explain later. Save creates a smart folder that will save in your user library under Save Searches, or you can specify a location of your own for Save Searches. You can also check a box to put the Save Search into the sidebar of all of your Finder windows. As with all smart folders, you can right-click on it, select Show Criteria, and from there, modify the criteria to your heart's delight. Now, I tend to use regular Spotlight for finding and launching apps, but I use the Finder level Spotlight whenever I want to find a file. All right, I have to say I'm still having a blast telling you all of these Mac Tiny tips, so I expect this series to go on for quite some time. I'm learning more about the features as I try to explain them, so I benefit right along with you. I expect that macOS Ventura will force me to go back through some of these to see how they've changed and to find new Mac Tiny tips to help you be more productive. Why does a radio telescope need to be so high up? Less air to look through. Yeah. Forever. You hope it'll be forever, or you presume it'll be forever, Jill? Good. I'm having fun with it. I did 2 of these in, like I said, for Screencasts Online. I want to keep going. They want to wait and see if people actually like them. All right. Time for easel stands. Let's push a button that will... I wonder if I do that. Nope. Slide, copy. Not as bad as having to copy paste every one of them. It's probably going to break in Ventura anyway, right? All right. Oh, actually, Steve, you at some point will get to show your, this is about the easel stands. When we get to it, you can show it in real life.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm going to mute Steve. Like most people, Steve and I sprinkle charging options for our iPhones all around the house. While Qi charging seems easier than plugging in a lightning cable, we found that setting a phone down exactly right on a flat charger mat didn't work that well. It was too easy to miss and not realize you weren't charging. And then we discovered easel chargers. These are basically a tilted stand to hold your phone, and by design, it aligns the coils correctly so you rarely return to an uncharged phone. I used one for nighttime charging next to my bed, and Steve used one at his desk. He likes to have his phone in a position where he can see the screen while he's on his computer and have it charge at the same time. On occasion, he likes to go in landscape mode, but mostly he likes it in portrait mode. These easel Qi chargers, like the one I had from Anchor, are usually less than $20 and solve the right problem for both of us. We bought 2 Magsafe charger pucks right after getting our first iPhone 12 Pros with Magsafe, but they didn't get much use. They worked well enough, but having the phone lying down on our desks or bedside tables wasn't quite what we wanted. We wanted to be able to see our phones while they were charging. The easel stands were the clear winners. The iPhone 13 Pro had a darn big camera bump, but then the iPhone 14 Pro came along and said, "Hold my beer." A few people have been talking about how the phone doesn't lie flat on a table, but more importantly, it doesn't lie flat against an easel charger. With our phones in our new cases, the camera bump tilts the phone so far away from the easel's back that the coils in the phone and charger can no longer interact, and charging fails to occur. Without a case, the phone is a smidge closer and can charge in the easel, but we don't trust ourselves without cases. Qi charging on its best day isn't the most efficient way to charge. Any air gap at all, and you've got a lot of energy loss. Even back when phones were flat without camera bumps, any case would reduce the efficiency of that type of charging. When we discovered our iPhones 14 Pro? Whatever, our phones wouldn't charge on our easel stands, we decommissioned them and dusted off our MagSafe chargers. My desk, I don't really mind setting the phone down flat, but Steve really didn't like that solution. He couldn't see his phone while it was charging at his desk. On his bedside table, Steve has had the Belkin MagSafe 3-in-1 wireless charger in black. He's had it for quite a while now. It's beautiful and elegant. I think I bought it for him for Christmas. It holds your phone and watch suspended a good 3 inches in the air. It has a very heavy base so it doesn't move around when you pull off your phone, and it comes with the MagSafe and Apple Watch charging pucks built in. It also has a spot to charge your AirPods case, but neither one of us uses AirPods. The Belkin 3-in-1 is very expensive at $150, but it's an elegant solution to the problem. And remember, it comes with $70 worth of Apple charging pucks. That still costs a grip. I replaced my easel stand and an Apple Watch charging stand beside my bed with the same 3-in-1 charging stand that trying to reword it. I replaced my easel stand and an Apple Watch charging stand on my bedside table with the same 3-in-1 charging stand from Belkin, but in this case, I bought mine in white. My bedside table is now far less cluttered, and there's only one wire to hide. The Belkin 3-in-1 wasn't the right solution for Steve's desk, though, because it holds the phone up so high in the air that it would block his displays. He also didn't need to charge his watch at his desk very often, so that would have been a waste of money and space. Belkin also sells a $99 MagSafe 2-in-1 stand that charges an iPhone, again suspended in air, with a spot to charge AirPods at the base. The Boost Charge Pro 2-in-1 MagSafe stand is smaller, so it wouldn't block his displays as much as the 3-in-1, but it was still much taller than the old easel stand. He wanted a MagSafe charger that would put his phone as low to the desk as possible. Both of us spent a long time searching for a solution for Steve's desk. This week, Steve and I met up with good friend and NosillaCastaway Norbert Frassa for lunch, and as one does, I chose a restaurant as close as possible to an Apple store. We didn't need anything, but we went wandering in there anyway. While we were perusing things we didn't need at the Apple store, we explained to Norbert the problem Steve was trying to solve. Norbert noticed that they carried a stand from 12 South, and that's one of the favored vendors of many Apple fans. The stand is called the 12 South Forte for MagSafe charger, and it runs $40. That's a lot less than the Belkin solutions. But pay attention to the wording. It does not say with MagSafe charger, it says for MagSafe charger. In other words, you have to supply your own. Hey, Steve, can you look up the markup there? For some reason, my underscores are showing, and it's not making it italiced. On the word with?
4 are italicized, but they also have quotes.
Yeah, look at the way 4 is written and the way with is written, and make the with one look like the 4 one, because 4 is working.
They look the same to me. They both are italicized the same with quotes around them.
Okay, I'll make a note to look it up myself later. Let's see. Easel with. When you see the preview of it, does it look italicized, the word with?
I'm looking at the preview. I wasn't looking at the HTML or the markup.
Oh, so they both look. Does with look italicized?
Yes.
In quotes and italicized?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe it's just rendering weird in this. Okay, that's good. All right, muting Steve. By your own. All right. The Magsafe charger by itself is another $39, so if you don't already own one, you're looking at $80 for this combo, which is not much less than the $100 Belkin Magsafe charger stand. Luckily, as I mentioned earlier, Steve has a Magsafe charger and it was collecting dust. Steve looked at the Forte and decided to buy it. Spoiler, it's perfect for him. The 12 South Forte is a very simple white design. It has a small square base, maybe half the size of an iPhone Pro, with a cylindrical post coming up at an angle towards you. There's a circular piece at the top into which you squish your MagSafe charger puck. The charger puck's cable comes out of the bottom edge of the circular part and then feeds into a channel in the white post at the back to mostly hide the cable. I think the design could be improved to more effectively hide the cable. When your phone isn't on the charger, you can see the cable sticking out a bit from the bottom of the circle. Compared to the clean design of Belkin's MagSafe charger stands, it's a little funky, but it's not that bad. It looks pretty good. One of the key features of the Forte, different from most of the ones that we've looked at, is that the circular puck area is articulated, so you can tilt the angle of the phone to your liking. You can even rotate it to the point that the screen is straight up, though I don't know why you'd want to. Since it's MagSafe, you can put your phone in portrait or landscape position, or even at a diagonal if you're some kind of anarchist. Now, the most important feature to Steve is that the phone sits very close to the desk, thereby not blocking his screens any more than necessary. He's delighted he was able to find a good solution with the characteristics he needed and only spend an extra $40. Now, in my searches on Belkin's site, I think I missed another option before we bought Steve's Forte. But after he bought it, I found that Belkin sells what they call the Boost Charge Magnetic Wireless Charger Stand. It holds the phone pretty low and supports both landscape and portrait positions, but it's not articulated like the Forte. Now, it's not MagSafe, but it is magnetic, and they say, quote, the perfect alignment of MagSafe delivers efficient and secure charging with easy one-handed placement. The Boost Charge products charge at 7.5 watts, while MagSafe charges at 15 watts, so it means it would charge your phone much more quickly if you had a MagSafe solution over the Boost Charge system. The Boost Charge magnetic wireless charger stand is only $25, but that's without the USB-C cable and power supply. If you have your own, that's a great price, and they only charge you $10 more to buy it from them if you don't. So this charging stand comes in black or white, and I think $25 for something that, or even $35 for something that gives you most of what you get from a MagSafe charger is pretty good. Now, we have one more interesting charging problem to be solved for Steve, and I wrote up the show notes before he's come up with yet a different solution, but let me tell you what I wrote up first. His Tesla Model Y came with a pair of built-in cheap charging pads. They're located under the giant screen, and they're tilted so you can see the phone, but they're low enough that they're not very tempting to look at them while you're driving. Since there's a big display with all of the actionable information, such as navigation and control of podcasts, you really shouldn't be messing with your iPhone anyway, and you don't need to. This Qi charging solution has worked great since he got his car last year. But the giant camera bump causes the same problem in Steve's car with his phone as it does with the easel stands. The phone is tilted so far away from the surface that his phone no longer will charge on the Qi charging pad. Now, my Tesla Model 3 is a couple of years older than his Model Y, and it didn't come with the Qi charging pads. Steve bought me a third-party solution from a company called Nomad, which looks identical to what came with his car. The design of the Nomad must be slightly different because my iPhone 14 Pro, even with a giant camera bump, can still charge in my car. Now, I haven't done any scientific tests, but it appears to be very slow, as that gap is still ginormous, so there must be a lot of loss. I was looking for a link to the Nomad Qi charging solutions we bought from my car to put in the show notes, but they don't make it any longer, probably because the cars come with them now. guess what I did find? Yet another MagSafe stand. This one is simply called the Nomad MagSafe Mount Stand. It's simply an angled piece of zinc alloy with a slot to pop in a MagSafe puck. They say they used zinc alloy so it's heavy enough to stay on the desk when pulling your phone off of the MagSafe charger. The Nomad MagSafe mount stand will run you $60 and comes in carbide black or silver. It does not come with the MagSafe charger. I may buy one of these for me. I think it's pretty slick looking. After reading that description, I asked Steve whether his Forte from 12 South stays on the table when he pulls off the phone, and he said what he's instinctively learned to do is just twist it a little bit as he pulls it off, so it does stay still. Now, at this point, none of this solves Steve's problem of charging his car. I was thinking we might have to resort to trying to put a MagSafe charging puck, maybe double back tape to the Qi charging pads, and then running the cable underneath the included USB ports. But then a big white charging puck, that would look terrible in his black interior of his car. So I was trying to think about maybe Pat Dangler could 3D print us something to go over the top of it, but still not have it offset much. Anyway, we were looking at all these solutions when Pat came over. She uses a system called MagBack, and it's a case that isn't a MagSafe case, it's a magnet case, if that makes any sense. So it's very, very magnetic. And then she has a little thing from MagBack that she mounted behind her big Tesla display, and it gives her a surface, a steel surface that she can stick her MagBack case to. So that's an interesting solution, but you got to deal with the wires, and that kind of puts it up at eye level, which really shouldn't be playing with your phone while you're driving. So what Steve discovered was that if he used her case, that magnet case, on his car, it actually will charge when it's sitting in his Qi charging setup. So I'm not quite sure why that case for his phone works with his car, but he's happy. And he's ordered one for his car. Okay, I winged it at the end, Steve. Did I say anything incorrect in my description?
I think that was pretty good. I think you captured it well, and I put in the links to that to Pat's solution.
Yeah, we may. I don't know if we want to adjust my article. We could.
To reflect what you said.
That ending part. Yeah, maybe I'll add mag back. Especially because people like to have links, and it's spelled BAK.
Right.
MagSafe compatible. I don't understand why a magnet in it makes it work in your car, though. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm not sure it's just the magnet. It may be the case that I have.
The bump's just smaller.
Has this bump sticks out farther than the lenses quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So I think this case, because of the additional material right here. Mm-hmm. Is causing that separation that some other iPhone Pro 14 cases don't. iPhone 14 Pro cases don't.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, it's easy to say, right?
Try to pluralize it too. That's what
I think it's iPhones 14 Pro.
iPhones 14 Pro. I think what I said was iPhone 14's Pro. All right.
Anyway.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know, but I don't understand. So if it's just a thinner case, you didn't need to buy a $50 case to go thinner. But it works, so you're going to get it, and it felt good too.
Right. And I like that fact that it's so magnetic, you can stick it against a piece of metal and it'll hold the weight of an iPhone. She was doing
a party trick. It was stuck to the edging on our picnic table that happened to be metal.
That's a cool feature.
Yeah, keep it away from your computer, dear.
There isn't much magnetic left in computers, right? I guess.
I don't know. Your display. Don't get in your. Don't test it.
That could hurt a display.
I remember this young snot at work thought it'd be funny to stick a magnet to my CRT at work.
CRTs are very susceptible to magnets.
Yeah, and he got to swap CRTs with me after that because there was a permanent ring on that. All right, here we go. You've heard me talk about how the shows I produce are supported by listeners, mostly through Patreon, but I haven't talked about how that works for a very long time. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I wanted to clarify two things. When you hit the button to become a patron, it will say, choose what you pay. And the default will be $5, and the monthly limit is set to support every creation. Now, I don't ever charge for Chit Chat Across the Pond Light or programming by Stealth Creations. Only the NosillaCast gets charged for to the patrons. But a weekly NosillaCast, if you did $5 a month and it was every creation, that'd be $20 a month. That would be awesome if you think the shows are worth that. I don't want to dissuade you if you really want to do it, but realistically, I hope for a more modest donation. You can change the dollar amount from $5 to as low as $1. And you can even set it to a monthly limit of $1 instead per creation. Instead of per creation. And you can even set it. And you can even set it to a monthly limit of $1 instead of a per creation $1. So that'd only be $12 per year for over 50 hours of the NosillaCast alone. But that doesn't even include the other shows. $12 a year. It sounds like a bargain to me. Anyway, I hope this information will encourage you to go to podfeed.com/Patreon and find a dollar amount that works for you. And go push that button. All right, it's time for Mr. Ed to make his showing here. It's our time. Oh, it's
yes, it is.
Dang it. Yeah, it's not my fault.
What's wrong?
Oh, yes, it is. I thought you were saying, yes, it is 5 till.
How much of this can you play?
Well, 5 till.
Oh, okay. That means people will have to go
Ed,
actually listen to the podcast.
I don't think I caught your plink. Ed.
I see something.
No.
I see a little thing. Oh, or is Ed the brown?
This is Ed. This is Ed.
Oh.
It's the brown. Yeah.
Okay.
Ed. You're going to have to make a recording of saying plink. Let me see how this lines up here. The show, Ed.
Thanks, Allison. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
All right. Let's see how that gap is. Ooh, I better do a link.
Chapter mark.
Actually, yeah. He did show notes for this. Why didn't it do anything? Come on. It made the noise. Okay, let's try that again. Copy link. Now it's not doing anything. This is fragile. Okay. All right. Well, the copy worked. I did my part. Keyboard Maestro's fragile. Let's see. That works for you. Go push that button. I've had too long. Split. Go push that button. I've asked Ed to buy us. What was that loud noise? Oh, you're not muted. That was you. Push that button. I've asked Ed Tobias, also known as Mr. Ed, in the live chat room and in our Slack, to come on and talk about an experience that he had with a relative of his that I think is going to be a good PSA for everybody. And it's not a great story, but there are some heroes to the story. In any case, welcome to the show, Ed.
Thanks, Allison. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
So why don't you explain to us what the basics of what we're going to be talking about here?
My particular relative, call her Betty, she's recently suffered some cognitive decline, and she was a victim of a phishing scam. So
Right.
it's kind of the discussion is, how the phishing scams, normally people can see through them and avoid them, but as you get older and if you lose some of your cognitive abilities, you become more susceptible.
Yeah, I hate to just point at age though. I think that if you could be younger and naive,
Oh, that's true too. That's true too.
And have the same kind of problem. So this isn't just about that. But the reason I wanted to have you on the show to talk about this is I think you're going to be able to very vividly take this from an abstract concept that we talk about all the time on Security Bits with Bart to something concrete that actually happened in real life to someone you love, and what went wrong and what actually went right in the story.
Yeah, it's interesting because you know you as you and I know, we're kind of the tech helpers for the family usually, and
Mm-hmm.
with the older people, you know, you teach them to try and avoid these kind of things, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, yeah. So what's the sequence of events? How did the problem start?
So it originally started, she received an email. It looked like it was coming from PayPal. She does have a PayPal account. Um, it was an email from PayPal saying that she um, paid a annual subscription update to a internet security uh,
Firm.
application or firm or something. It was for the amount of about $740. And it said it in very highlighted lettering, if you have an issue or concern about this charge, please call this number.
Yeah, so
So,
I'm looking at right now. It's got a PayPal logo on it, and it says your authorization for the payment of $740 to blah is successful. We don't want to call them out because they didn't do it, right?
right,
But so
I'm
it
sure
says your
they're fake.
authorization for the payment is successful, and obviously she was. At this point, she was alarmed. I'm sure that this is not something I thought I was going to pay for, and $740. You'll notice that one. That's gonna leave a mark, right?
Right, right. And, you know, obviously she didn't recognize it. And so I try to get her to call me whenever she gets something like this, but she didn't this time. She actually called that number because she thought it was legit.
Okay, I'm going to cut you guys off. You don't get to hear the end because it's 6:01.
Well, you got to the problem to be solved,
Yeah.
at least.
I'll talk to you again soon.
All right, take care.
All right. Yeah, this is a good service to do this, I think. There's a special place for people who do this. All right. Here we go. Whoop. I did not tell you to do that. That's weird. That wasn't even in focus. Yeah, but that's not who this is for. We all get those, but we got to keep ever-present vigilance on our friends and family. That's for sure. All right, here's the outro. Well, after that charming story, let's wind things up for this week. Did you know you can email me anytime you want at allison@podfeed.com? If you have a question or a suggestion, or even better, a review, send it on over. You can follow me on Twitter @podfeed. If you want to join in the fun of the conversation, I highly recommend joining our Slack community. It's at podfeed.com/Slack. You can talk to me and all the other lovely Nosilla castaways. And I tell you, you really got to join the Delete Me channel because that's actually the best channel. That's where you can drop in things that don't have anything to do with anything, but maybe it tickles you in some way. Alistair pretty much owns the Delete Me channel. Anyway, remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. You can support the show like we talked about earlier at podfeed.com/Patreon. If you don't want to do a donation like that, you just would rather do a one-time donation, you can do that too. podfeed.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time, where you can see my audio get all messed up and we have to reboot my whole Mac before we could even get started. And you can join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCast castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. All right, there we go.
Yeah, it did quit.
All right.
Now you're back.
Bye. Are we going to say goodbye, Steve?
Goodbye, Steve.
I can't hear you. Oh.
Am I muted?
Huh. No, Mimo Live stopped?
Mimo Live
Yeah, you're
stopped.
gone from Mimo Live.
Really? I see it.
Yeah, you are.
I see it, and I see you. You just don't see me. We did drop out, and that may be the reason.
No, I'm seeing you on Mimo Call, but your audio is no longer coming through on Mimo Remote, or on Mimo.
Okay. Well, it's being transmitted, but we're still streaming.
They said it stopped.
Okay.
That's weird. Yeah. Wait, video gone back now. What does that mean? Does that mean it's gone? Oh, it went away and it came back.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm hearing myself on YouTube, so I think it's still, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
We're done.
You just came back. You just came back double now.
Okay.
That's
I think we
weird.
should end the stream
I think so.
before this gets worse.
Yeah, that's very strange. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Rose. She's not here, but I'll
Have a great week.
Count chapter marks.
Oh, chapter marks. Okay. Well, you want to do that during the show?
No, we can go. We can let him go now that Kevin
Okay,
reminded
we're
us.
going to cut it out here.
Wheels are falling off the bus. The ducks are falling off the bus. Goodbye.